Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Friday, July 26th edition of the Seahawks 7. I am Brian Nemhauser. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at HawkBlogger and would appreciate some more follows on Instagram. I'm going to try to build that channel this year. I am not an Instagram guy at all, but I know that's where a lot of things and a lot of people are. So let's try to build that channel. Would love to have more people following us on Instagram, give us more reason to grow that part of the show. So Seahawks 7 is where you can get all of your Seahawks news every day in 7 minutes or less. Start the clock. We missed yesterday because I decided I was going to try to do a Seahawks 7 in the afternoon or evening as a recap of day's news. Honestly, I didn't feel like doing it, so it didn't happen. But we're going to keep doing it in the morning. We'll see how long I push this for. But for now, let's get into it. Seahawks news of note. As of yesterday, the Seahawks signed former UFL wide receiver Ty Scott, an undrafted free agent from Missouri State in 2023. They waived cornerback Andrew Whitaker as kind of a swap on the 90-man roster. Bigger news from my perspective, linebacker Easton Gibbs from Wyoming was activated off the NFI list, the non-football injury list. He was at practice on the field yesterday, and he is a guy that has a long shot to make the roster, but I think a better shot to make the practice squad. And certainly with the inside linebacker room being questionable in terms of depth, Easton Gibbs is a name to watch, and I certainly will be as the days continue. Julian Love spoke with press yesterday after his big new deal and had nothing but great things to say about his new safety partners, Rayshon Jenkins and Kayvon Wallace. He talked about Kayvon Wallace being the most obnoxious communicator, and that is to use a phrase Mike McDonald talked about in his press conference, that he wants his team, his defense especially, to be obnoxious communicators, relaying every single detail. Kayvon Wallace also, if you missed it, was on with me yesterday, did a nice interview with him. The show is on the YouTube channel. You can go and check out that interview. I will be doing more interviews as time goes on, and those will be available initially to YouTube members at the suite level right away. Everybody else will have to wait a little bit. So if you want to get the interviews as they drop, become a suite level YouTube member and you will get access immediately as more interviews happen. Got my fingers crossed for one today. Don't want to say too much until it happens, but I'm hopeful it will, and that should post probably by 1:00, depending on how timing goes. Other news for the Seahawks, Laken Tomlinson yesterday spoke to press and also mentioned, interestingly, just how much he sees Charles Cross as a elite athlete, special player, and something that, I got to say, I got to continue to monitor for me in terms of what I'm watching. I'm not seeing that yet. I want to see that. I want to feel that way. Can't say that I do, but Laken Tomlinson, great to hear that he feels that way. He certainly knows a lot more about what his left tackle is doing and whether he's doing it well than I or anyone else does. All right, next bit of news related to Julian Love signing his deal. Announced this morning, Jabril Peppers of the New England Patriots, a safety with the New England Patriots, signed a 3-year extension with a base value of $24 million, worth up to $30 million. Now, the thing to note there is Jabril Peppers is a very, very good safety, and his worth up to number is $30 million for a 3-year deal. That's obviously $10 million APY at its max. Julian Love's deal rumored to be 3 years, max value of $36 million. That would be a $12 million APY. Interesting to see where these safeties are getting slotted, especially given that the safety market has kind of collapsed. It might be rebuilding a little bit, but in any event, somewhat related to the Seahawks and their week 2 opponent, as well as the market in general. Couple other things to note. The Broncos, the week 1 opponent for the Seahawks, were able to end what was initially a, quote, stalemate with their leading receiver, Cortland Sutton, on a contract impasse. He has added more incentives to the deal, increased his base salary. He is now all good and in camp. Broncos head coach Sean Payton made a asinine comment that they're going to pick whichever quarterback's going to beat the Seahawks in week 1. They don't have that player on the roster, so I don't know how they're going to trade for Josh Allen before the season begins, but he did say it, so I did want to share that he said it. What else? Also related to Seahawks schedule news, opponents, Michael Badgley, the kicker for the Detroit Lions, has been lost for the season. Injured himself in warmups, and he is out for the year. So the Lions will have a new kicker. That is reasonably large news. The Rams, who I mentioned yesterday, appeared to lose one of their starting corners, Darian Kendrick, to a knee injury. It was confirmed by Sean McVay that he has a torn ACL and lost for the season. Also related to the Rams, Darius Williams, one of their big free agent signings at corner, went down yesterday with a hamstring injury. Unclear how serious, but things are getting a little dicey there. One last thing I will share relative to a name I've brought up before, linebacker Jamin Davis, former first-round pick for the Washington Commanders, who I thought might be an option for the Seahawks as a trade target. With Bobby Wagner and Frankie Louvu having been brought in to play inside linebacker, the Commanders are testing Jamin Davis as an edge rusher. So interesting to see. They already are acknowledging he's not going to be their inside linebacker. If it doesn't work as an edge rusher, he still may be an option for Seattle later in camp. And that is your Seahawks 7. I'm Brian Emhauser. I'll be back with Hawk Blogger Mornings in just a bit.